Hello, everyone, and we're here at the Hispanic Patriot podcast. And today we're meeting with our friend Tom Hamner from Colorado Springs, one of the J6 defendants that was prosecuted after being arrested, and he went through the ordeal. So we're going to have him update us on what he went through. So for those of you that didn't hear him before, you can get a feel for what he's been through and what he's going through now. So welcome, Tom, to the show,
Hey, thank
and
you.
good to see you again. We're in a new era, of course. We have our new president, and the country feels a whole lot different right now. So we're going to have you introduce yourself to the audience and just give a little brief background on what you experienced through the J6 process and where you are now today. So I'll let you go ahead and do that.
Well, thanks, Hugo. Hey, I want to say welcome home to all the J6 political hostages. Our time is now. It's time to get together and let's move this country forward. Boy, what a big event, Hugo. The day of January 20th of 2025 is the shot heard around the world. I think.
So we call it Liberation Day.
I think that's it's a day of liberation. It's definitely a day we could celebrate. The road home through January 6th, from January 6th to now it's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of surprises. Big surprise when you get arrested, uh, and you're not expecting it, to be pulled away from your home and not have a chance to fight your case the way that our system was intended to allow us to fight our case. Um, just the fact that our justice system allowed and basically created a situation where men and women had to arrest their friends and neighbors in some situations where the rule of law was it was completely overlooked. Uh, so yeah, today
So take
today
us back a little bit, kind of to where the beginning was, how you came to be arrested, and a little bit about what you went through until your release.
So I wasn't arrested on the day of January 6th. I was arrested on November 9th of 2021 after
Right.
January 6th.
Right.
And it was a surprise in the morning to walk out of a client's office to a bunch of federal agents and police officers with their guns pointed at you. The irony was it happened right underneath the American flagpole. Now that when I look back, that was an ironic part of it. Um, that was the day that really changed my life. I think every single person that ended up in that situation, whether it was them ramming their front door and kicking it in, breaking it in, or somebody just simply getting called in for a meeting and you're surrounded by agents and police being put under arrest. I think that was a surprise and a life shakeup. I, I was pulled away from my family and gone for 20, the equivalent of 26 and a half months. I was found. I pleaded to a lesser charge in my case in order to kind of expedite my sentence and try and get home because of the fact that I had businesses, I had properties, I had a lot of things that I wanted to get back to and try and save. I didn't want to lose all of that. Um, so I pleaded down to a 30-month sentence for civil disorder. I was sentenced to 30 months with a couple years of probation and some community service. Um, Going through the time in jail, if I backtrack a little bit, that was really interesting. There were some bad times and there was a lot of good times. I think
Now,
the good times overshadow those bad ones.
were you ever in the DC jail?
I was no, they never put me in the DC jail. The closest I ever got was the holding cells in the district courthouse.
Okay.
I was lucky enough to not have the experiences quite like the gentleman in the DC Gulag did. So that
Okay.
was a blessing.
Yeah, we were on our show last night. I don't know if you got a chance to see. We had a video at the DC jail, and we had the um, we had the uh, Congresswoman from Colorado, Lauren Boebert, was happened to be there, and she did a little brief presser right outside the jail, and expressed her opinions about how they were delaying the release of some of these folks, and how federal marshals had to go down there and start uh, expediting the release. And from what I understand, they're still not all released, and they're just kind of dragging their feet on several of the jails, not just the DC jail, but these local politicians and or officials are, I think purposely dragging their feet, trying to make the process even more uh, dramatic, so to speak, and I think they're going to pay the price. But at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for, is the full release of all the people who were pardoned. And I think the president is being briefed on what's going on, and I anticipate some activity from federal law enforcement real quick,
Yeah.
because this is unfathomable what they're doing. They're trying to play games with this with the release of these folks, and it's just not right. But
Yeah.
if you get a chance to take a look at our podcast from last night, you'll see Representative Boebert was really laying into them, and she said she wanted to be the first one to escort the J6ers on a free tour of the Capitol.
Right. Well, awesome. That's great. I'm glad she's finally. I'm glad that she's brave enough to jump in like that with both feet. Because when I approached her in Pueblo and on one other occasion, she didn't want nothing to do with the conversation about January 6th.
Interesting.
Yeah,
When was that?
at county assembly and state assembly. I tried to
Okay.
I tried to get her into it. I waited until everybody had done all their pictures and everything, so there was no way that it was going to be a bother to try and get her on a couple, how she felt about January 6th and how she was going to help. And I couldn't get a question in. It was no, can't talk, got to go. Then I tried her again at state assembly, and it was the same thing. So I was glad to see her, put in that, go out
Yeah,
there.
maybe it was a situation where she didn't want to muddy up her election process. That may have been
You
it.
know, if that's what she's worried about, then I don't. If
But
it's if it really,
that's not an excuse. I'm
yeah,
not
I
defending
know,
her.
but there's a lot of other people that they're using a lot of the same stuff. It's like, what, we fight and we fight and we fight. We can't be fair weather, but I do understand that it's hard for people to when it's not when it's not it's not the time. Everybody's looking down at that person or that what's going on. There's a time when the patriot is all alone. There was a time where a lot of
Yeah,
us, we were alone. If in jail.
yeah. I'm not condoning political expediency. That's
Right,
not.
right, right, right. Me
That's
neither. But I'm saying, it really is. It's telling to see who's jumping in and being a really loud voice that wasn't until he put his hand on the Bible.
right.
I get the muddy in the waters and stuff, but that's the whole reason we're here, is because everybody's always worried about how clear the freaking water is.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, we got to be
So
done with that.
let's jump ahead a little bit now. When you finally got released, you were placed on probation. Or
Yeah, I had 3 years of probation and 200 hours of community service.
okay, so that was what, about a year ago?
Well, I was released December 26th, 2023.
Okay, so a little over a year ago.
Yes, sir.
And what? How much of the probation have you completed up until the pardon?
Just over 12, well, 12 months. My probation started January 7th,
But you
2024.
haven't done any of the community service.
I told my probation officer that if on January 21st, 2025, I didn't get a pardon, I'd start my community service, but not one day sooner.
Okay, there you go. All right.
So, so a funny thing, on the morning of the 21st, I text my PO, so it looks like I'm off your list. I'm not going to be seeing you anymore. And she responds back, you're mine until the official paperwork comes through, right?
Uh
So
huh.
at 5:24, one of the guys that got released from Florence here in Colorado
Uh huh.
was at my house, and we were at the Supercuts in Falcon getting him a haircut because he hadn't had a haircut in I don't know how long. And I got the text that said, "You are no longer under our supervision." We got the official paperwork. I jumped up, man. I jumped up. Tears started coming out my eyes, and I ran over to Andrew, and I'm like, I finally got my official paperwork too.
So they notified you via text.
Yeah, well, my probation officer notified me via text. I haven't
Okay.
received any other paperwork just yet.
Okay. All right. So officially, you received one of the full pardons.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So your record is expunged. No record. No conviction.
Nothing. Nothing.
All right.
Yeah. Trump
All right.
followed through on what he said he was going to do for us, and he did that. We are so, 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 so happy.
Now I'm curious as to whether or not there's going to be. I don't know if it would be because there's so many. But I think what would be cool would be some sort of reunion at the White House or at some arena somewhere where the president comes and speaks to everyone. I think that would be pretty cool. But that's something that just occurred to me. I don't know that that's what they're thinking, but at the very least, we've got the what we what we were hoping for, and I think the president promised and delivered immediately. So uh,
Immediately.
at the very least, we're there now. We're monitoring to see the release of the rest of the people that are still being held, and I hope that the president and feds drop the hammer on these local officials and start dragging them out and maybe dragging them out in handcuffs. I'll see how they like it.
I mean, I don't see why. I don't see why we wouldn't. I really don't.
Yeah,
It's
well,
not.
they're obstructing a lawful order.
Yeah,
And,
it's not. It's not about revenge or vengeance. This whole movement is about establishing law and order in the United States again. It's about safety. It's about commerce. It's about faith and family. And man, I mean, to see where the things that we've gone through just since the election in 2020,
yep. And
it,
now
it's
what?
amazing.
Something that I saw just yesterday, a day before. It seems like the entire Colorado delegation, except for one, uh, and that's Jeff Hurd out of District 3, out in the Western Slope. He released a statement to the effect that he didn't agree with the pardons for the J6 defendants, saying that he doesn't support pardons for people who assaulted police officers, and uh, and so I'm waiting to see what I can get from that congressman, because he was one of the ones that contacted me during his campaign and telling me how much he was with the president and all, and then he comes out and basically disagrees with the president on this very important issue, in my opinion. So I want to hear it from him. I want to hear his reasoning and see what he's thinking, because he's the only one out of the Colorado delegation that has disagreed with the pardons. So, and he's a Republican. So we're gonna be looking to contact his office to see if he's willing to come on and speak to that. But I was disappointed to read that
Yeah.
from that particular congressman.
Yeah. I'm eager to start. I'm eager to see the footage from the Capitol before the end of the speech, because that's when I was there, and that's when things started to happen. Was people, not even the whole crowd hadn't even got there yet before everything happened. It happened before any podcasters were set up. No helicopter media, anything was filming anything. It's all closed circuit TV and police cam footage. Andrew Taki, who was staying with me until I got him on a Greyhound, him and I were in the same area on the back of the Capitol. We have the exact same story. We tell the exact same thing, word for word, basically everything that happened, how we were assaulted before any of the crowd even got there. The police were already assaulting people. So
Yeah.
for this guy to say that we were doing bad things, man, well, how do you feel about the police assaulting people that weren't doing anything? I'd like to hear his stance on that.
Well, that would be a good question to pose, definitely. Now, the my understanding, unless I'm reading it wrong, it was that the J6 committee has basically destroyed all the evidence and documentation for their hearings. And I don't know if that included video footage or whatever, but if it has, then I'm not sure we're going to ever be able to see that. But we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I would like to
I'd
see
keep an eye on
all the
Ivan
footage.
Raiklin. I'd keep an eye on Ivan Raiklin with that one.
The only thing that they were using at the trials was edited footage, and they were very biased in the way they presented the footage. There was one individual that received 20 some odd months in prison, and at his trial, it was revealed that the only thing they showed was edited footage, which was basically a collage of the more violent stuff. They didn't show when people were walking peacefully through the Capitol, like as if they were strolling visitors. And I've been to the Capitol a few times. You walk through, you're looking around, you're like a tourist, But apparently, they didn't show any of that footage. All they showed was edited and footage that was going to be inflammatory to the jury after the objection of the defense. So yeah, the whole thing was a setup. The whole thing was a scam. The way they proceeded with arresting people, holding them without trial, in ungodly conditions. The father of this gentleman, if you watch our show from last night, there was the father of one of the individuals who pretty much gave some really graphic details about the treatment of his son. And the after the pardons were announced, um, officers from that DC jail assaulted his son and beat him up, handcuffed him, threw him in a cell, and left him there. So he said they've already filed lawsuits. So there's going to be a ton of lawsuits from this thing. Um, are you planning any kind of lawsuit?
I haven't gotten involved in anything like that yet. Man, I have to put a lot of time into keeping my. It costs a lot of money to run my companies.
Yeah,
So when I have to make a certain dollar amount a month to stay open, that's my main focus right now. I honestly just can't put the time aside to do some of those things that some of these guys are able to do. And I hope to God that they all get everything that they got coming, and I hope all of us do. But right now my focus is more just making sure I got my bank accounts and these checks that these people depend on, that all lines up. That's my main
Okay.
focus right now.
Well, that's fair enough. You might want to consider just joining, being a part of a class action, because I think there's going to be one of those.
There's a whole
Um,
bunch of them, and I just it's hard. You got to figure out where you can get involved and who's got it so that you can get tied in. I got a few people that have told me they're involved in them. So I imagine as more and more people are talking amongst the January 6th community, more and more of us will get tied into all the things that are going on in the different areas. Because there's wasn't a lot of Colorado people that were up in prison. There was a couple of us,
yeah.
but there's some areas where there's a lot of people because there were so many individuals pulled. Those are places where they're starting the suits and whatnot. And if I can get in, I will. So hopefully that conversation becomes more and more active as more and more people get connected.
All right. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add
No,
as
I
far as?
asked in the private chat that right now, even with all this success, we still have the j6roadhome.com project. That's tiny houses being donated and built in Texas with Jenny Cudd. If anybody has any resources, whether it be labor, materials, money, whatever, please go and help out. There's a handful of January 6ers headed to that project so that they can have a home and they can get back into life. Also, we still are working with Freedom's Ambassador Project. You can find that at givesendgo.com. Freedom's Ambassador Project. It's a 501c3.
Okay.
We're using that to help get everybody kickstarted with cash, phones, healthcare, credit rebuilding, the whole 9 yards. There's a lot of stuff going on, but those two places are a couple places you can go and you can join, you can donate, you can volunteer, whatever the case may be. But yeah, jump in. Let's let's help these guys out.
All right. Sounds
Thank you.
good. We'll look forward to keeping in touch and seeing what how your projects progress, and let us know however we can help.
Yep. Trump.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you for coming on. Take care.